Welcome to the Explainer. Look, if you're in tech, you've probably asked yourself this question 100 times. What programming language should I learn next, especially looking ahead to 2026? Well, today we're going to ditch the usual top 5 lists and look at this whole thing from a completely different angle.
All right, to get right into it, we're starting with, well, a confession. The person whose ideas we're breaking down today used to make all those top 5 languages videos, and he's basically come out and said he was wrong, that the whole approach just doesn't work.
So, okay, if those ranked lists are junk, what's the right way to choose? Well, the big idea here is that those lists are missing the most important piece of the puzzle. And that piece is you, your own personal situation.
And that brings us to this key point. Context is everything. I mean, think about it. The right language for a college freshman is going to be totally different from the right language for, say, a senior data analyst who wants to pivot. Your goals, how much time you actually have, what you're studying right now, all of that is way more important than some random list on the internet.
You know, your time is your most valuable asset, right? You can always make more money, but you can never get back lost time. And picking the wrong language for your situation, that's just a huge waste of that precious time. So before we even think about a language, we need a better way to decide, a framework that's built around you.
So let's talk about the first path. This one's all about riding the absolute tidal wave that is AI and data science. If that's where you want to be, if you want to be an AI pioneer, well, I'm sure you've guessed it. The language is Python.
And the numbers here, they're just staggering. I mean, look at the TIOBE Index, which is a huge deal for tracking language popularity. By late 2025, Python is just sitting comfortably at number 1. It's not even close, really. But what's really wild is that it's not just one source saying this. You've got TIOBE putting it at the top. You've got the huge Stack Overflow survey showing its usage is just off the charts. And then GitHub's own Octoverse report shows that it actually overtook JavaScript back in 2024. This whole explosion, it's pretty much all thanks to the AI boom.
And all that popularity, of course, means jobs. Lots of them. If we look at the Indian market, for instance, a skilled Python dev can be looking at a salary anywhere from 13 to 26 lakhs a year. That just goes to show you how much companies are willing to pay for this skill.
Okay, but remember what we said. Context is king. So, should you learn it? Well, if you're a total beginner or you're dead set on getting into AI, then yeah, for sure. But if you're a first-year student and your college is drilling you on C or C++, you need to stick with that first. Get really, really good at what's right in front of you. Build that solid foundation before you go chasing Python.
All right, on to our next path. This is for the web architects out there, the people building the websites and apps we use every single day. And in this world, the language that's really taking off is TypeScript.
And just take a look at this data from GitHub. You can see how fast TypeScript is climbing. I mean, 66% year-over-year growth? That's insane. It's even growing faster than Python, which is saying something. That's a huge clue about where the world of web dev is going.
Now, it's really important to get this straight. TypeScript doesn't replace JavaScript. You still need to know JavaScript. Think of it more like a powerful upgrade. It adds this thing called type safety, which basically helps you catch bugs before they happen and build much stronger apps. And let me tell you, recruiters are specifically asking for this skill on job descriptions now.
And what about the money? Well, for jobs that use TypeScript heavily, like React or Next.js developers in India, you're looking at a pretty wide range, anywhere from 10 to 30 lakhs a year. Why so wide? It really just comes down to your experience level, and if you can prove you can build those really big, complicated web apps.
Okay, path number 3. This one's a bit different. It's really aimed at students, or frankly, anyone who wants to build a rock-solid, deep understanding of how computers actually work. And to do that, you got to go back to the classics, C and C++. Now, I know they've been around forever, but don't let that fool you. These languages are still absolute monsters. They're sitting at number 2 and 3 on the TIOBE Index. There's a reason they're the foundation of so many computer science degrees. They force you to learn crucial things like memory management that other languages hide from you. Plus, if you want to program hardware or need something to be blindingly fast, this is where you go.
And believe it or not, they're still growing. The world always needs things to run faster, and that's what C and C++ deliver. I mean, here's the perfect example. You know Python's super popular NumPy library for doing fast math? The secret is, it's written in C. Python calls on C to get the kind of speed it just can't manage on its own. That's how relevant it still is.
All right, let's shift gears now and talk about paths for the pros.
For developers who are already in the game and are looking to specialize, maybe in giant corporate systems, or maybe on the bleeding edge of performance.
So if you're talking about huge enterprise applications, the software that runs the world's biggest companies, Java is still the undisputed king. I'm talking about the back-end systems for banks, for Netflix, for Uber. They all run on Java because it's so reliable and can handle that insane scale. The job market for Java developers, especially in India, is just massive and incredibly stable.
But what if you need that raw, metal-to-the-pedal speed of C++, but you also want some modern safety nets? Well, there's another language that's really starting to make waves, especially in fields where performance and safety are everything. And that language is Rust. The best way to think about Rust is like a modern version of C++. You get all that incredible speed and low-level control, but it has this amazing built-in system that prevents a whole class of really nasty bugs. Seriously, developers who try Rust tend to fall in love with it, and companies are hungry for people with this skill.
Okay, so we've covered a bunch of ground here, right? We've looked at a path for AI, one for the web, one for students, and a couple for working pros. So now, let's pull it all together and figure out how you can make your decision.
First thing to remember is these aren't the only paths, not by a long shot. Want to make games? You should be looking at C#. Working in the cloud? Go is huge. Building Android apps? Kotlin is your best friend. The point is, there are lots of options, and each one is a champion in its own specific field.
So here it is, the framework. Ditch the ranked lists and just ask yourself these 4 simple questions. 1. What do you actually want to build? What gets you excited? 2. Be honest. How much time can you really dedicate to this? 3. Do you have a specific goal in mind, like working at a certain company? And 4. What are your current circumstances? What does your job or your school or just your life in general make possible right now?
See, the best programming language for you in 2026, it's not going to be on some list. It's a personal answer. It comes from looking at your own interests, your own goals, and your own life. That's how you pick a path that you'll actually stick with, one that's right for you. The question isn't, what's the #1 language? The real question is, what's the #1 language for my journey?